A considerable change from the infectious diseases that challenged our past. We are getting sicker, but infections are not to blame. That's the good news. The bad news, as COVID-19 reminds us, is that infectious diseases haven't vanished. COVID-19 might be caused by a new virus triggering a global pandemic, but it marks the return of a very old, very familiar enemy. Nothing has killed more humans through history than tiny invisible microbes. As of this writing, May 18, 2020, there are more than 4.6 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world and more than 300,000 deaths, touching every continent save Antarctica. Not to mention the many more probable unconfirmed cases. This was a pandemic, in reality, well before the World Health Organization finally declared it one on March 11, 2020, and most of us didn't see it coming, perhaps a stark reminder to us all. The COVID-19 pandemic has triggered the world to sit up and take notice of germs. A cognitive shift. All topics of conversation that are not around the pandemic seem suddenly trivial. While COVID-19 grabs our attention, tips and tricks for taking care of our guardian protector, the immune system, firmly takes a seat at the conversation table globally. SARS-CoV-2 is painfully demonstrating our vulnerabilities, perhaps because there are many other aspects of our modern life that are contagious too. Obesity, loneliness, and a plethora of negative psychosocial and socio-economic issues that collectively have been silently eroding our immunity. Disease, infectious or otherwise, can only get a foothold in a population if new cases outnumber recoveries. The global boom in premature morbidity from NCDs shares many similarities with pandemics of infectious diseases. Yet public health professionals have resisted the adoption of this label. Infectious disease and non-communicable disease are not mutually exclusive. NCDs are a leading risk factor for becoming severely ill if you do catch an infection, and the waves of death associated with both infectious pandemics and other seasonal infections are often followed by waves of death due to other causes, notably heart attacks and strokes, indirect consequences of the collateral damage caused by our immunity's inflammatory response. Though we still have much to learn, COVID-19 probably isn't exclusively a respiratory infection. Despite negative health trends like pandemics catching on, somehow it seems to take much longer for human thinking to do the same, just as previously and misguided thinking assumed people who caught infectious diseases had only themselves to blame. So we too now place blame on the individual suffering a chronic condition like obesity. If anything, floating in the limbo of lockdown, this pandemic reveals a truth behind our immune system. Infectious diseases and NCDs need to be tackled at the population level. Immunity becomes not only biological but societal. Both infectious and non-infectious disease carries crippling economic costs overwhelming our healthcare systems, albeit one more slowly and silently than the other, and cannot be easily reversed under the conditions of our 21st century lifestyle, where many of us already feel we are functioning at 20% below our best, even in the absence of a diagnosed health condition. It's a signal that your immunological needs are not being met, a signal we have all been ignoring, and now is the time to listen. None of us have immunity to this virus. This pandemic reminds us that although some may be more vulnerable than others, COVID-19 has caused fatalities among patients under 60 and put hundreds of them in intensive care. There is little hierarchy in our immunity. Our immune system is more complicated than that. If you fall into the not too young, not too old, healthy adult